Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Lauro, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth. Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Angel on Top. Just a few nimble notifications before we get this episode coming at you in high speeds.
If you've yet to reap the joy of becoming a Patreon member, what on earth are you waiting for? Joining at the $1 level gets you access to our Facebook group where we hold live streams as well as community-led discussions on the episodes.
$5 patrons receive copies of each episode's poem ripped straight out of Angel's personal leather-bound diary, and they also receive MP3 downloads of each jingle.
And of course, $10 patrons get the added bonus of discounted merchandise. Go to angelontop.com, click the store tab, and get our hot logo tee, our Cordelia tee, as well as the Big Demon Energy enamel pin.
All right, now buckle those seatbelts, stow your tray tables, and brace for impact because this episode is tight.
Welcome back to Angel on Top, a podcast where we watch and discuss every episode of Angel one by one, spoiler-free, and in tandem with Buffering the Vampire Slayer. I'm Laura Zak.
And I'm Brittany Ashley. And this week we're dipping our whole bodies into the ring. Stick around until the end of this episode for an original poem written by us through the perspective of our favorite cage fighter with a soul, Angel.
The Ring was written by Howard Gordon and directed by Nick Mark. It aired on February 29th, 2000.
This is the one where Angel is captured and enslaved in a fighting club and must fight his way to freedom.
It's also the one where, why doesn't Angel's hand disintegrate in that one part?
That's a great question.
There's no better or more fun way to start an episode than a little bit of a sibling rivalry between Cordelia and Wesley.
Oh, you're just jumping straight up in.
You used takeoff metaphors, so I just thought we would soar into the sky.
Oh, I was thinking that maybe we were like still on the ground, about to go up into the air. Like talking about how the international titles in German for the ring are Die Gladiatorin von LA, which means the gladiators of LA. And also La Prison d'Angel, Angel's Prison, which is the French title.
Those are both beautiful titles, even in English.
And The Ring, also not to be confused with the 2002 horror film of the same name. And this was around the time that I started to realize that I liked girls. So I remember some friends came over right after The Ring came out on video. Because it was a scary movie, some of the girls were like, oh my God, we like all have to like cuddle and watch it. And so in my head made the connection between, ooh, horror films and ooh, cuddling. I think that was like middle school. And then I didn't cuddle with another girl for 7 years.
Are you serious?
7 years.
What does it say about like the level of comfort with intimacy that we have in our culture that we rely on being terrified to force us to touch each other? We did that on, I guess this is to your point, on a roller coaster once. Like at Universal Studios, I feel like you grab at each other because you're scared. Again, it's coming from fear.
Yeah.
I do have platonic friends that I am cuddly with.
Well, what the fuck?
We used to cuddle. Moving on.
So, fun fact, this episode was nominated.
Fun fact, we used to cuddle. And now we don't. What's your fun fact?
This episode was nominated for a 2000 Emmy for Outstanding Makeup in a TV Series. Guess who they lost to?
Buffy?
The X-Files.
Hell yeah. Do you know what episode it was of The X-Files?
Sure do. Thief.
Wow, I do remember that episode. I don't remember the makeup. I feel like this episode could be nominated for Emmys in many departments. I thought it was strong.
Yeah, but if you think about like the Emmys or the Oscars in general, because this was probably regarded as like a procedural, as like a spinoff of like a teen soap opera, in their eyes, I don't feel like they would think that this show is worthy.
Yes, and I'm forgetting that I think it's only the Primetime Emmys that nominate entire shows. It's the Creative Arts Emmys, which has like makeup department and whatnot,
Right.
and you put forward specific episodes, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it was just my way of saying I liked the sewed.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, I guess it's just my way of saying I've been nominated for an Emmy.
I have.
I know, I was there.
You were, and we still didn't touch much at the Emmys.
No.
Hmm.
So we're looking at a very intriguing website. Demons, demons, demons. That's like Motley Crue.
We get a little bit of analog versus internet humor. Basically, Cordelia is embracing the new technologies and what they can do for their business and using these websites that are new as a point of research about all things Deem. Wesley, kind of similar to Giles, just, really only trusts his books and feels like, why venture elsewhere? It's not going to be as comprehensive. It's not going to be as reliable. And so we establish up top a little bit of a contentious dynamic between Cordelia and Wesley.
Yeah, and Cordelia is kind of being the Willow in these moments. And she's looking up Wolfram and Hart on this website to see kind of what the history is, and nothing's coming up. And also, we realize that in this .com boom era, Cordy has some really good ideas for dating sites. And again, I cannot stress enough that we only had Craigslist for a while.
Some of us had nothing because we weren't doing that.
Well,
you're the second queer friend I have who used Craigslist.
I think we could find a lot more. But amidst the argument, Darren McNamara stumbles in with some bruises. He's very disoriented, and he tells them that his brother Jack was kidnapped last night by things that weren't people. And he shows us a little fingy.
Yeah, he's like, if that wasn't enough, if you were not already intrigued, please open the box. There's a finger in there.
Which, okay, upon my second watch, I was like, wait, whose fucking finger is that?
Okay,
because Jack has his full hand.
I'm so glad you say that, because upon my second watch, I was like, this entire first act Easter egg hunt that they send Angel on was so unnecessary. Darren literally could have just been like, yo, some demons took my brother and they took him to this nightclub. And then Angel would have been there.
Angel would have been like, wait, Dobleek? And then he'd be like, no. And then he'd be like, okay, either way, I'll go.
Right. And then they could have grabbed him there. But anyway, we'll take you through what does happen.
Oh my God.
But basically, he goes on a tour of Los Angeles.
Yeah. So Angel shows up to this poker game where this guy Ernie is there. And they have this like ordeal in the alleyway where Angel looks like he's going to light a cigarette, but then he has some money. And then it made me think, wow, Angel spends a lot of money getting information. Do you think Cordelia is cool with this?
Or maybe he is funding it separately. It's sort of an off-books part of the operation, because I do not think she'd be happy with that. But basically, he's in an alleyway in Silver Lake at a bar called Shots. Then the guy that he gets the information from is like, you got to go to Beechwood Canyon, technically under Beechwood Canyon.
That's also far.
That's a long commute.
Yes.
So Angel's like, sigh, all right, I'll go from downtown where I started to Silver Lake to Beechwood Canyon. I'm going to go underground. I'm going to fight some shriekers.
Howlers, yes. Very shrieky. They also kind of look like if the gentlemen from Hush and Buffy were auditioning for Blue Man Group together. So Angel gets a tip from the Howler, who I was shocked that the Howler could speak. Like that was their thing. That they just
Wait,
fucking
I thought
shriek.
it was someone looking on at the fight who then gave Angel the information.
No, I think he got a tip from a Howler. I think they went from like kind of acting like animals, and then Angel beat the shit out of one of them and got the information, and then the Howler started speaking.
Okay, we could pause this and go look at what actually happened, but I think the fact that neither of us recall after 2 watches each goes to show my point that this whole setup is so convoluted. Let's keep in mind that, spoiler alert, but where they are taking this is they're trying to get him to yet another location so that they can trap him at this club.
Yeah, I bet the production designers and the producers were like, yeah, can we just have this take place at one location instead of like 8?
Yeah, can we go over again why he needs to do Silver Lake and Beechwood Canyon? Could we just take out both middlemen and just get them straight to...
And then Howard was like, no, it's for the story. It's to show how much he has to go through to get there. And it's to deter the audience from understanding what's going on.
Yeah, and I do think that the really solid storytelling like really gets into the groove once he gets to the club and we find out what the ring is and what the ring alludes to. At that point, it's almost as if the 3-act structure starts over. It's like its own little mini-sode within the episode.
Right.
But regardless, I mean, this is not the first time the show has done this, of kind of having a misdirect of what exactly the monster of the week is going to be, what exactly the main story is going to be. So we're rolling with it. We're taking this little LA tour with him.
So Angel ends up at this event. He passes by who we learn is Lila from Wolfram and Hart. And then after some eye fucking, he moves on. And he sees this underground fighting ring where demons are fighting to the death.
It reminds one of a Roman Empire. It reminds one of Django Unchained. It reminds one of Russell Crowe in, I think it was called The Gladiator, wasn't it?
Gladiator, yeah.
We've seen this theme before, but what makes it interesting, or one of the things that makes it interesting in the context of this specific world, which much later in the episode they'll kind of call out, but is the fact that for the most part, we understand demons in this world to be synonymous with wrongdoing and with evil. There are some exceptions, including in last week's episode and talking about like evil things versus not.
Right, like the peaceful Kwani demon.
Yeah, I actually, upon reflection, I think we've actually seen quite a few, if not peaceful demons, like demons that have more complexity, like we had
or
Doyle.
have like humanity, like with Harry's husband.
And
fiance.
the demons that the Scourge were after, and yeah, there have definitely been more complexity. And so I guess sort of what like the metaphor, what they're going for in this episode is it a little bit is like a prison scenario,
right,
where it's like understanding the humanity and systemic issues of of incarcerated people,
and then also using their body as entertainment or using their bodies to fight fires, stuff like that.
Right. But this is a step darker from even incarceration, because this is really slavery. And Angel understands pretty quickly what's going on here, and then he spots Jack, who he's been looking for, the supposed
not taken.
Yeah, and
with all fingers.
10-fingered Jack is his new nickname on the street.
Oh, that's what they called me in college.
Wow, before we started recording, I tried to make a sex joke. and you were
said-
not having it.
Because you just said that's
No,
what
you don't
she
need
said.
to tell
Yes,
them
I
what
do.
I said.
I need to give them the context. You said
Listen, I thought that in the safety of our own friendship, I could make a "that's what she said" joke, and you would at least give it a little chuckle.
you thought wrong because I care about you enough to not enable that. So Jack is a part of this thing. It turns out that Angel was set up by Jack and Darren, and he gets zapped into submission, and it's clear to us that they want to make Angel a fighter. And the next morning, we see...
They want to make Angel a fighter, so they only sent him on 4 tasks in order to get him to this place.
Well, I guess, okay. So not to go against you, but I think that they were using the Howler demon fight as kind of like an audition.
I feel like if they already knew about Angel to begin with, they knew him by his reputation.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I think the story gets so tight once you get to the ring that I was a little bit on the second watch confused about why we were spending so much time in the build-up.
I get that. So the next morning, we see that despite all his rage, he's still just Angel in a cage. So the ring is basically a wristband that prevents the demons from leaving, which only come off after the 21st kill. But Angel refuses to kill, and we presume that he's probably the only one in there with a soul.
We've been getting a lot of poor timed jokes from Angel, and we get another one here that when he wakes up and sees his cellmate, who is a demon, he says, "Oh, I asked for a room with a view." He just really knows how to start making friends up top.
Meanwhile, Cordelia and Wesley are concerned because Angel didn't come home last night and they can't find Darren. And so Wesley decides that he's going to go the last place that Angel went, which was to see Ernie the bookie. And just based on the fact that he can't hold things without dropping them, we just assume that this next interaction is just going to be a fucking disaster.
Totally. They're like, okay, Wes, you have to follow in Angel's footsteps to find him. So you're going to have to go bribe a bookie in Silver Lake, fight 2 howlers in the underbelly of Beechwood Canyon, follow a lead to a West Hollywood nightclub, sneak in through a grate, and then you've fallen into their trap. It's like the Fire Festival guys, like trying to put together a plan that's like a sure thing. Like, this will just work out.
Or it sounds like a weird, like, fairy tale board game. Through the candy cane jungle.
We kind of get a version with Wesley of how satisfying it is when we get to watch people find out the hard way that Angel's a vampire. We get like the Wesley equivalent of like what he lacks in brute strength, he makes up for.
And a great shot.
And just like blind courage.
Yeah.
He's so confident.
Back at Demon Prison, Angel is trying to rally the troops against Jack, but he doesn't have great luck. All these guys in there are probably pretty hopeless to the idea that they can all take Jack down. And it's kind of the classic thing that you see in prison where it's like the big guy picking on the weaker guy, but the new guy tries to stick up for the weak guy, but then the new guy gets the shit beat out of him. It was kind of like that.
And then the weak guy says to the new guy, hey new
man,
guy, I don't need your help. What are you trying to do here? Brittany, let me make the point. That might not be as pleasing to listen to as it is to watch.
No, I think it will be.
It's also that they're not just in cages. They're not just in prison. There's an added supernatural element in that they each wear
It's kind of like a bracelet.
Right. And when they are wearing this, they cannot cross a red line or supposedly they will completely turn to dust.
Yeah.
And we see it in action because Angel's cellmate commits suicide, which does make me feel really bad for him because one of the last things he experienced was Angel basically calling him ugly.
I think the last thing that he experienced was Angel asking him, do I speak English?
Oh, right. Angel talking at him in Italian, Russian, and Spanish.
Yeah. Crib is the guy who is the
big guy.
The big guy. and you don't cross him because he's the most prized fighter and he runs this place. Fun fact, the little guy, Mellish, who kind of looks like Seth Green, is played by actor Mark Rose. He was also in the Buffy episode Fear Itself. That was the Halloween episode in like the frat house.
Was he one of the frat boys?
Yeah, he played Josh, one of the frat guys who dies and comes back as a zombie.
We also meet Trepkos, who is clearly another one of the valued fighters, but he's more of a stoic. He sticks to himself. He doesn't really join in.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I kind of got the gay vibe from Trepkos.
I could see that.
Yeah. And then my favorite scene in the entire episode is Wesley, like, where is my employer?
I care about him a great deal. Just yelling about how much he loves Angel, basically.
I think that it was supposed to be somewhat of a play on The Princess Bride, where it's like, my name is Inigo Montoya and you killed my father, because he's like, I'm Wesley Wyndham Price and I'm looking for my employer.
He needs to kind of tighten that. He needs to maybe spice up his go-to catchphrase, though.
And I also love that he chose employer instead of boss. And obviously these guys are just laughing at Wesley. But then Wesley does this fucking crossbow gun trick and he's like, please drop those. I thought that it was very good and showed that he is kind of developing into someone that you can really depend on.
So back at the ring, we have gathered at this point that Lila from Wolfram and Hart is a repeat customer at this sporting event. We find out that she knows that Angel has a soul, presumably because of Wolfram and Hart's dealings with him.
Her and Darren are talking and they're trying to decide kind of if his soul is going to be a deterrent or a strength in this fight. And it lands on probably depends on what he's fighting for. And then we meet Detective Yelsu.
Oh, this is such a good scene as well.
Detective Yelsu and Detective Andrews. Detective Andrews and Detective Yelsu. And Detective Andrews can really think on her feet.
She sure can. And I just about lost it. I loved it so much on my first watch when she's like, show him your badge. And then Wesley does like the quick sweep of his wallet through the air. That part just crushed me.
Yeah.
I love that. So basically they trick this couple into giving them their tickets to this event by basically implying that there's going to be a raid. So it's very clear that there's a lot of high-powered individuals who go to this event who would, I mean, much in the way of like gambling in places where it's not legal. Like they participate in this thing that if legal authorities were to get involved, they would not want their name attached to.
Which also, how didn't the legal authorities get involved? If it's like a big red carpet event?
It was implied that there are police who are complicit in this. So there's some level of cover up because of their status.
And if Trevor was still alive, he might have been one of them.
They don't seem like blue collar Trevor Lockley. Like they seem like the elite. It's another echelon of problematic.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that they all know that demons exist.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like an extension of the Wolfram and Hart crowd.
Mm-hmm. It's like their friends and family night.
Maybe.
So Angel's in the ring, but he's refusing to fight. I think Angel's kind of depending on the other guy to not hurt him. So Fight Club came out in September of 1999, and this episode came out in February of 2000. So it came out about 5 to 6 months after Fight Club came out.
So maybe they were piggybacking on a cultural moment.
I don't know if they would have been able to fully write this into like their,
like you're saying, maybe it's more of
coincidence.
Yeah,
I think it's more
things
coincidence
that like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about in Big Magic, about similar expressions of creativity seeming sometimes to like come out all around the same time.
Right. Another fun fact. The guy who plays Crib, who is the actor Marcus Redman, was also in Fight Club.
Wow, that was a big year for him in fighting.
Mm-hmm. And you want to hear another fun fact?
Oh, please.
That Cribb is based on the boxer Tom Cribb, who in the 1800s was one of England's most prized boxers.
Very fun. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich,
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
actor Ewan Ryan,
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
and so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
A bloodbath tonight in the rural town of Chinook.
Everyone here is hiding a secret.
4 more victims found scattered.
Some worse than others. I came as fast as I could. I'm Deputy Ruth Vogel. And soon, my quiet life will never be the same.
Realm presents a 30 Ninjas production, Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
So we get to see during this bout between Angel and I believe his name is Baker, that something that Darren does to escalate the fight, if it starts to become boring or if it starts to feel like it's winding down, is to arm one or both of the fighters. And so he throws down a knife and he attacks Angel, cuts Angel's arm, and this ends up sending Angel into vamp face.
Mm-hmm.
And the scuffle that occurs after that leads to Baker getting a knife to the gut and dying, which I was a little bit unclear of how much it was Angel losing himself in his vamp face or if it was truly an accident or how that culminated.
I think we're meant to believe that him turning into vamp face makes him more like a monster, and then him being praised for being aggressive is supposed to be kind of like a red flag for us to be afraid that perhaps Angel is going to see kind of the bright side to being a monster, which is that this thing that he's always had to hide is now being kind of like cheered
Celebrated.
for. Yeah, really. But it doesn't. Angel immediately is trying to convince Trepkos to not kill Mellish. If they don't fight, then they don't have a show, so nobody has to die. But Trepkos is like, I'll kill him quickly. And he does just that.
He does. It's like he's putting down an animal to put him out of its misery.
Yeah.
And he's also, we learned that was his 20th kill. And when you get to 21 kills, you get to be set free. So he's inching closer.
And the night just ends up being over and Cordelia and Wes just leave.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They're like, there is our employer who we care a great deal for.
Guess we'll get him in the morning.
In mortal danger and imprisoned. All right, let's go figure out how to make a key.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a plan, though, to their credit. And Cordelia has snatched one of the bracelets. And they're going to go try to figure out how to manufacture a way to open it.
Which seems kind of like a long way around trying to like kill Jack and Darren.
All of this is a long way around, but I'm just rolling with it.
So Angel grabs Jack by the necky. This is the moment that Laura...
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Why? Why didn't his arm had to go outside of the red line? And we see both with the suicide in the beginning and with what happens to Darren later, that as soon as your body is pushed outside of the perimeter, you're dust.
You're dust, baby.
And why was it that, like, obviously Jack wouldn't have gotten that close to the red line if he knew this was possible?
Yeah, it makes me wonder if, like, your heart or something has to, or, like, your brain has to pass through. Again, we know that Joss is one of those people who is like, I'll take the story over the continuity. So
Because basically what happens is Angel takes control of Jack. We think this might be a moment where he's going to get himself free. And then Darren and the other human evil dudes like come running because they hear Jack yelling and Jack crying and sees that Angel has him, and instead of like trying to do anything to save Jack, Darren just shoots his own brother in the chest. I guess that is a pretty good escalation because it's like, all right, we're dealing with like another caliber of sociopath.
Right.
Yeah.
And we learn kind of who the ringleader is. And I believe that that's what the kids call Savage. But the bullets obviously don't kill Angel. They just make him weak enough for the guards to shock him again. But then we wake up with Angel and we're in Lila Morgan's office.
Excuse?
So many questions about how he got here because they had to take off his wristband. They had to drag his lifeless body across town. I picture like a very fun like Weekend at Bernie's situation that if they got caught like in the street, they'd just be like, yeah, our friend had like way too much to drink. He's just going to sit this one out.
I'd love to see that short film.
Same. But this is our kind of more formal introduction to Lila, who again works for Wolfram and Hart. And we kind of see her negotiating powers here. She is telling Angel that she convinced Darren to sell Angel's contract to them. Basically, he's free if he forgets about everything that happened. So he can't go back there and like save these other demons. He kind of just would have to like forget that any of this was a thing and trying to silence him.
That's small print number 1.
Yeah, but instead of being silenced, he's like, I do not take this deal.
Well, small print number 2 is he would have to work with Wolfram and Hart. It was essentially being like, I scratch your back.
I'm not good at reading contracts.
Well, she straight up says, like, we could work together.
Yeah, I'm not good at contracts.
It's meant to be creating an alliance between Wolfram and Hart and Angel, which we know they've kind of angled for before. He's not going to take that deal. Lila's like, there's not one reason why we can't work together. And he's like, you're right. There's about 1,000. And then all of a sudden, Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber comes in and is like, so you're saying there's a chance.
I'd also like to say that I think that Lila and Angel have better chemistry than Angel and Kate. Also, she gives him Prosecco.
I don't disagree. I also think the nature of their relationship is completely different. And it's
like sexy antagonistic.
Yeah, it's not so loaded.
It's loaded.
It's loaded, but I guess I mean it's not so, there's not so much baggage.
Back with Cordelia and Wesley, they're trying to figure out how to unlock the wrist cuffs. And they talk about gratuitous violence and they relate it to Jerry Springer. And a little known fact, I went to Jerry Springer in Chicago once.
No.
Yes. It, you know how like sometimes you can go somewhere and it just like makes you feel really gross being there?
I was literally about to make this exact same point, but about watching it. And
yeah.
There's something about watching it. And obviously there was an addictive quality to it because it was so popular and a lot of people must have had this experience. But there was almost something a little bit Black Mirror-esque about what a show like that being popular said about our world. And the more messed up thing is that same feeling that I can identify of kind of like where you kind of get this little window into like a certain seediness and cruelty, like underlying humanity, is now what I get just watching the news.
I was going to relate it to A Star's Home Store, but the news is also accurate. So Angel is back at the holding cell, and Trepkos and Crib don't totally understand why he came back. Again,
this is like narratively a huge beat change for them, though. Even though they aren't originally embracing him or like acknowledging that they respect him now, the fact that he would choose to come back and not just take the cop out, like really shows them that he's serious with his integrity.
Well, they went from like, no to like, what? If I had to draw it from a straight line, it's no to wait.
And then meanwhile, Angel's like, yeah, I have integrity, bro.
Or he's just like, yeah.
Whoa. Wait, what was the word again?
No. Wait, what? Yeah.
Basically, that's what happened in that scene. You're welcome.
So Wes and Cordelia are trying to figure out this key. Turns out Cordelia used to have a horse whose hair she kept in a locket, which leaves me with two questions. One, was Cordelia a horse girl or was she just a rich girl with a horse? And two, the IRS took a horse away? They can take pets?
Horses are valuable.
But
also,
are they not seen as pets? Or are they seen as a mode of
property?
transportation?
That's an interesting question. Like, I don't think they'd take a dog away, would they?
That'd be so fucked up.
Wow.
How do you value the price of a dog?
But I do want to point out, I think the most important part of this moment where we find out her horse's name is Keanu. She's a Keanu Reeves fan. So much so that she named her Palomino after the guy.
So now we're at the big fight, and Lila bets against Angel.
Well, and the big fight is between
Angel and
Trepkos, and it's Trepkos' 21st fight.
Yeah.
21st fight, which is essentially like bottom of the ninth, tie game, 2 outs, full count, bases loaded. Yeah. High stakes.
And it also is interesting that Trepkos believes that they'll get him out after 21 kills. Why would they do that if he's like bringing in people and money and stuff? But either way, he says to Angel, I'll kill you quick, which Trepkos, more like broken record, Kos.
Trepkos believes in economy of language. I'm kind of into it.
So in this fight, Trepkos appears to be winning, and the other demons have kind of already given up on Angel. But meanwhile, we see Cordelia walking around kind of like the more desolate parts of the arena, and she pretends that she's lost just in time for her to distract the guard while Wesley gets to sneak around to the other demons. And Wesley's trying to make an arrangement with Crib before his little frog tongue grabs it, which has fuckwatch potential, but Crib's just kind of an asshole.
You liked that little lizard tongue of his?
Hell yeah.
Flirting, understanding, consent, and kissing. Flirting, understanding, consent, and kissing. Fuckwatch.
So yeah, I didn't choose Crib because, yeah, I think he's just kind of like...
He's too mean.
He's like mean. And I don't want to have sex with someone who's like mean.
Also, he seems selfish. I don't think he'd be a generous lover.
Yeah, like he wouldn't even use that little frog tongue. He would just be like, I'm done, I'm tired. Get you next time.
You'd find out the next morning when he's making you make him breakfast that he even has that tongue.
Like, where was that 12 hours ago?
So who was your pick?
Detective Andrews. Detective Andrews.
Wait a second. Haven't you already picked Cordelia?
I did, but I'm picking Detective Andrews.
I don't know. This seems like a pretty slippery loophole.
I love a detective in animal print.
You can't. Okay, I'm
determined. She is in control, but also compassionate. Detective Andrews.
I'm going to have to call bullshit on this one.
Fine, I'll just choose Crib and then be really unsatisfied.
No, I don't want you to be unsatisfied, but...
I don't know, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm remembering that you did pick one episode. You picked another character who was in character as someone else when you picked Angel as...
Oh, Herb Saunders.
I feel like the fact that you have picked Cordelia, you can't just also pick her playing a character.
Some would say that she literally disappeared into the role, and therefore I couldn't even recognize that it was Cordelia. It actually feels like a whole new person
All right. Well, I might try to put this to a vote on Twitter or in the Facebook group because I'm not really sure what to do about this. But you don't have like a backup vote you want to do?
Yeah, it's that or being very sexually dissatisfied with Crib.
So I'm glad that you already brought up the vibes of my pick because I wrote down, is Trepko kind of hot? But like he does remind me a little bit of like a really hot stoic like Butch, or like he just has a really quiet grace and like a gentleness to his strength that I find really appealing. Also, his head reminds me a little bit of a Stegosaurus, and that was always my favorite dinosaur. Trepkos has that and more. And I just really liked how you could always tell, even when he was resisting Angel's plan, you could always tell like that he was conflicted and that he at his core was a really good guy. And he just also was hot. And I'm into his queerness.
Also, may I remind you that his whole thing was I'll kill him quick. Do you feel like he has stamina?
Absolutely he does. We see it in the final fight with Angel.
Because to me, I'll kill him quick kind of sounds like...
No, you're confusing him with Crib. He would be an incredibly generous lover. We're seeing him in a time of duress. We're seeing him... This is not like when he can thrive, you know? This is him in survival mode. I want to get him out of that situation, you know, have like a little pansexual romp.
See what those riches do.
Flirting, understanding, consent, and kissing. Flirting, understanding, consent, and kissing. Fuck watch.
So back in the ring, it's looking very bleak. They get some giant sticks thrown to them that can kind of work as giant stakes. And so Angel is just doing his best job defending himself against Trepkos, who stabs him in the abs.
Trepkos is stronger. We start to gather that because we are deep into this fight now and Angel is struggling. And we can see that should he choose to, Trepkos could probably end it.
I think we're kind of more seeing that if Angel wanted to end it, he could end it.
Well,
and
they both had a moment. We both had a moment. But I guess in terms of stamina, as you were talking about before, Angel is hardcore huff and puffin'. And
because he's only defending himself. If he was hurting Trepkos, he would probably be less tired because Trepkos would be more tired.
I guess I'm just trying to say I respect Trepkos' skills and maybe they should bring him onto the team.
So Crib uses the key that Wesley gives him, and much to his surprise, it works.
And he's about to leave, but he can't help himself. He has to get one last look at the fight before he goes.
And then Trepkos is ruthless when Angel extends an olive branch of like, we don't have to kill anyone, and makes some very intense eye contact with Angel. He's kind of hashtag bye for Boreanas. He doesn't kill him.
He doesn't. And then they take a moment, they step back, and they make hardcore eye contact, guilting eye contact, deserved guilting eye contact with all of the spectators. They just turn it around on them like, look at yourselves. The real monsters are you. That's what they were saying with their eyes.
Yeah, these like fucking goons are like, oh, what happened? Why monster no kill no more? By Crib doing the right thing and letting all these demons out, now, as Angel had said, they do have a fighting chance to defeat these dudes. And it's very satisfying.
And Crib is the one ultimately that frees Angel from his bracelet.
Right.
So that he can join the fight. But one thing I loved is that Cordelia is the one who ultimately pushes Darren into the pit.
Yeah, she chucks him over the edge, and Trepkos gets his 21st kill. He picks up Darren and throws him into the ether, and he like turns into dust.
And then he and Angel flirt a little bit.
I kind of want to see Trepkos, Crib, and Angel be like best friends and like grab a beer and like start a fantasy football league together.
It'd be cool to see like a Big Brother style reality show about the three of them. Like, or I guess I more so would want Real World.
3 demons living under one mansion.
Picked to live in a house and make their lives work.
Watch what happens when demons stop being polite and start getting real. Real World, Angel's Mansion. But yeah, all the demons are freed, and Wesley, Cordelia, and Angel are all walking away from this event, and they're like, wow, we did such a great thing. We set the captives free. And then they kind of pause a beat and they're like, oh, wait, fuck, did we do a good thing? And all the demons in front of them are like looking back and like menacing, and they're like
kind of high-fiving
like,
energetically.
fuck yeah. Like we just got off.
I don't remember if this is the case, but it would be cool if one of them shows up as the monster of the week in a future episode.
Totally. And then they're like, oh no. I wonder what Trepkos is like doing.
And I just think he's a really good person. I also get the sense that he has emotional intelligence.
Yeah, or he's just like really good at staring. Like sometimes we think that people who are like really quiet are just really smart, but I think some people are just really quiet.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Angel on Top. I'm Laura Zak, and when I'm not torturing Brittany with That's What She Said jokes that I thought were private, damn it, I'm writing and acting. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter or check out laurazak.com.
And I'm Brittany Ashley, and when I'm not arguing with Laura about which Angel character I want to fuck, I'm writing scripts. You can find some series and some vids at BrittanyAshleyFunny.com.
You can follow Angel on Top on Instagram and Twitter at Angel on Top Cast, and you can email us at angelontoppodcast, all one word, at gmail.com.
And if you've been enjoying the show, please consider reviewing us on iTunes.
We'd love for you to join our growing Patreon family. You can do so at patreon.com/angelontopcast. Joining at any level as little as $1 a month gets you into our private Facebook group and gives you access to fun extras, including the Fuck Watch spreadsheet that some of our other lovely patrons made.
And now, please enjoy the poem for The Ring from Angel's Point of View. The Ring. My employees' squabbles, rhythmically diurnal, interrupted this time by concerns fraternal. Phalanx severed, delivered as a threat. The demonic perp's price for Jack's unpaid debt. From East Side Dive, bookie bribed with 2 Franklins, to Beechwood Underbelly, taking on Howler twins. Then off to Case the Club, patrons looking pretty. A perk of the job's really seeing the city. First woman I encounter takes me in and calls me fleet. She's alluring but complicit with unethical elite. What I find is mortal's worst, monetizing speciest hate. I must stop this, but I'm shackled. Learned too late, I took the bait. Waking up imprisoned, others refuse to intermix. Before I plan escape, I must learn demon politics. We're unwilling gladiators. 21 murders makes it end. I won't do this, they can't force me. To Baker's soul, I make amends. The conclusion of fight night puts my mug in bright lights. Could my vampiric damnation finally be cause for celebration? When full-fingered oppressor gets too close to the red, his unruly sibling elects he's better off dead. I wake up from forced slumber to a glass of champagne. Offer deal assures freedom if demon prison I abstain. But I refuse in accordance for seedy law firms' gain. I can't stand idly by as the enslaved are slain. Final event pits me against the 20-kill stud, whose release relies on shedding, well, my blood. A stabdomen to my abdomen weakens my fight, but shared look of solidarity, a revolution ignites. Replicated key forged by Cordy and Wes, chaos ensues with the jailbreak's success. Liberated demons go free into the night, though I ponder, did we do what was right?
Talmor, Sheshin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone. So we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural then and now.